Hey there friends, Dave Paulides, Canadian Missing Project. That is our executive producer, the real big cheese of the show, Huck L. Berry. Yes. And she's been running crazy. We've had warm weather. She's starting to shed, and when she sheds, look out. Come on, lay down. That's a good girl. Come on, lay down. Lay down. That's a good girl. And when she starts running, she starts jumping and prancing around, and she loves to play. Yeah, you like to play, don't you? She goes, I don't like sitting around and listening to you talk in the office, so Dad. Yeah, your aerobic conditioning is a little lacking. We got to get you back out there on the trail more. All right, let's get going on the show. Oh yes, that's the poster for Missing 411, National Parks, Washington. And right after it premieres on March 21st, those posters will go on sale on our store, and I will sign every one going out the door. So go to missing411.com if you want to get one. And then the Alaska cruise, there's the trio that's going to be on the Missing 411 side. There's also going to be a Bigfoot side to the cruise as well. And my good buddy Jonathan Dover is going to speak on that side. It'll be an epic cruise. So go to Gather Up is one word, events, and find out about the cruise. Leaves from Seattle in September to Alaska. We've done this cruise before. I have a blast because there'll be some fishing excursions you can sign up for. Last time we went out with a guide. There was like 10 of us, and we fished a river that had big salmon in it. Everyone caught fish. It was so fun. It was so fun. And then you come back and you have a 5-course meal on the boat. It's just epic. Yeah, you can't beat it. No, you can't beat it. So, somebody sent me a letter. Pretty interesting. Hey Dave, been meaning to contact you for some time. First off, I wanted to express my appreciation for all you've done and continue to do regarding the Missing 411 phenomena. I often marvel how you are able to manage it all. Huh. Yeah, I wonder myself how I'm doing it. You mentioned not long ago members working on the Skinwalker Ranch mystery stating their work and yours are connected. It was quite a revelation as well. Will undoubtedly add a whole new dimension to your studies. I've known about this for a long time. Before the present day team took over, I heard about this from the team that was there before. Second, this is from a while back, but I recall one of your videos discussing Operation High Jump taking place in Antarctica in '48. About a week ago, viewed the 1948 U.S. Navy documentary about this mission, presented on Turner Classic Movies. I've never seen that. Never saw the film before and was surprised at a few disclosures mentioned in the film. Perhaps most intriguing were photos and narration of an area which was ice-free and containing freshwater lakes, the water temperature of which was a balmy 38 degrees Fahrenheit. Another surprise was a colored diagram of Antarctica showing where the primary base, Little America, was. The ghost coast on the opposite side of the continent, colored in green, was the warm coast, of course. Nothing else was discussed about the latter. In any event, my mentioning all this was because I wanted to inquire if you ever heard of or read the book by Stephen Quayle called Empire Beneath the Ice. In the event you have not, and or might like to, I could get you a copy. Frankly, don't know what to say other than it's quite an interesting story. Thought it provoking. Lastly, viewed your first Missing 411 video regarding the Marin cluster. There's 5 of those videos. An unfortunate fate of a young woman who committed suicide. In my humble opinion, she was suicided. After falling from her boyfriend's aircraft, the testimony from her boyfriend is all too similar to what we have seen in many other cases. Missing truckers, for one. Another is the case where an outdoor film crew member started acting strange. Shortly thereafter, for some explicable reason, ran off down the hill, across a small valley, and into the wood line, never to be seen again. If you haven't seen that, or you don't know about it, it is worth discussing right now. This guy was part of a film crew working in Idaho. I've actually been to the exact location where he disappeared. It's in the middle of nowhere. Never showed any mental health issues in the past. His family couldn't believe the story, and in fact, his dad hired a private investigator and went out because the young man never did anything like this before. College graduate. 12 people were standing there watching. Everyone's standing on this ridge line with a slight decline, and they're looking over this beautiful forest. And this guy, all of a sudden, young 20-year-old, 24, 25, takes off running. Epic speed, never stops. Right into the wilderness. Never seen again. So when you think of that, and then this girl who jumps out of the plane, there's other stories like this. So if somebody has never attempted suicide before, never mentioned suicide, never showed signs of depression, etc., and then all of a sudden they do this, I tend to think that something else is going on, like this man says. These disappearances seem to suggest a form of mind control directed at the target specifically. Such an example was reported by you centering on a near victim in Canada. She was a young girl who was found standing in her home's front yard and staring at the nearby tree line. Her father came home, said something to her, and several minutes later decided to go back outside to see what was up. This move saved her life. The girl was transfixed on a spot in the forest. When her father inquired as to what she was doing, she asked if he could see it by a tree. He saw nothing. The girl said, "It wants me to go with it, and it doesn't like you." He immediately grabbed her arm, took her into the house, into her bedroom. She fell into a deep sleep and recalled very little afterwards. I've never heard that story. But I guarantee if that was my daughter, I wouldn't let her go to her room. I'd make her lay down on the couch right next to me, and I wouldn't sleep that whole night. Or I would tie her to me in the middle of the night to make sure she didn't get out of that house. Several people who have been abductees before have reported very similar to what this person just said. And people who have seen aliens and UFOs with friends right next to them, they can see it and the friend can't. This is pretty common. Back to the Marine case. It must be a form of telepathic control exerted upon the victim, and a powerful one to override a human's strongest biological urge, survival of self. Since the girl was seen to fall, but nobody ever recovered, my gut says she was taken for a reason. She would be of no use dead. Perhaps she never hit the ground at all. We know there is great evil in this world, but cannot fathom why or how a girl on a plane 2,500 feet in the air could be a target, unless there was something else nearby invisible to the eye. I could go on about brainwaves, telepathy, etc., but we'll call it here. Continued success in your research and other endeavors. Good email. A good letter. It really makes you think. And that's what I like. I like people that make me think. I believe that's the way you guys are too, because my stories push you to that outer limits of what you may think is normal. But as any experienced person who's been here with me knows, our world is much different than what most people think. All right, the next story involves the disappearance of a man right near Newberry, Michigan. Remember the story before this? Newberry, Upper Peninsula of Michigan, right near Lake Superior, has a cluster of missing people there. Yes. This man's name was Ray Naugle, Naugle, 28 years old, missing November 1st, 1912. This case has big implications. Just because it's old, don't walk away. I guarantee it's going to be worth it. He was married, lived in Ithaca, New York, and worked as a clerk for a company called the McCormick Store. He did well in life. His wife did well in life. Ray was good friends with two guys, George Mikesell of Pompey and Nathaniel Johnson of Newark Township. Now, both of these men were quite a bit older than Ray. All three had a lot of experience in the woods and deer hunting, which is what they were going to do. And they all trusted each other. They were all really good friends. Well, the trio left on October 25th and traveled by train on their deer hunting trip to Newberry. The train arrived in Newberry. They got out and they hiked 12 miles into the woods and established a hunting camp at a place called Silver Creek. Now, some of you say, wow, it's quite a journey on a train. They're probably sleeping on the train. And they get out and they hike. Hey, a lot of people are lazy these days. Don't do a lot of hiking, thinking 12 miles is going to kill you. That's normal out here. In fact, hunters walk a lot more miles than people know under the most difficult conditions because they aren't on trails. Well, they hiked 12 miles out, established their hunting camp, and over that next 4 days, after they established their camp, they went out every day hunting. They got to know the area. They got a feeling for where the deer were at. And then came November 1st. The group got up and they knew this one area where they had seen deer before, and there was a swamp in the middle of the area. So this was the explanation in a December 25th, 1938 article in the Detroit Free Press. Now, whoa. This happened in 1912. Why are they talking about it in 1938? Because the story was so bizarre. It was considered one of the most mysterious disappearances in Michigan history. And Michigan has a lot of disappearances, folks. Here's what the article said, just a little bit of it. It says, Naugle was accompanied by Nathaniel Johnson and George Mikesell. Johnson last saw Naugle as they parted ways to circle a swamp into which that they had trailed a deer. They were to meet on the other side, but Naugle never appeared. It's important to get the specifics. So the three of them are at the front end of the swamp. They know there's deer out there. So two guys are going to go this way. Naugle's going to go this way. What do you have there? Point of separation. So the guys get to the end of the swamp. They're looking around. They call Ray's name multiple times. They walked back up the way he came. They waited for an hour, hour and a half, nothing, so they wanted to get back before dark. They went back to camp, stayed up late, calling his name, kept a big fire blazing. He didn't come back. Now, this was a Friday. The guys thought there's a possibility that Ray got a deer. And he's cleaning it out, and he's just busy. Possibly. I mean, if it was an elk or a moose, I would say maybe. A deer, it doesn't take that long to clean out. Moose and an elk, yeah, if you were going to cut them up, that could take some time. But a deer, yeah, I don't think so. But on Saturday, November 2nd, the pair wake up. And right away they go out and they start looking for their partner. And they went down that swamp, down the way that Ray went, looking for something. Some evidence he shot a deer. Some evidence of a struggle. They didn't know what they were looking for. Anything disturbed in the soil, blood. They didn't find anything. The following day, Monday, November 3rd, George and Nathaniel decide something happened and we need help. So they hiked into Newberry to get assistance. Another 12-mile hike in. They get a hold of law enforcement and they start rallying more people. And they take them back to their campsite to show them the path that Ray took before he disappeared. Word soon got out to other hunting camps around the community, and a lot of people all stopped what they were doing and started to look for Ray. It was an impressive outing for 1912. Now, you and I have talked a lot about canines coming to a scene, not finding a scent. And I've told you about cases where they bring a canine in and it's not interested and it doesn't even want to work. That's contrary to the way every canine is. Every canine loves doing their job. Now listen to this. A November 21st, 1912 article in the St. Joseph Daily Press. A bloodhound was procured for the purpose of tracking Naugle, but it was brought to the scene and it refused to work. And then it followed that with the trail being too old to follow. It is hard to see how Naugle could not have found his way out had he not been shot. The factory whistles of Newberry could be heard at the hunting camp where they were at. There were several lumber and hunting camps in the area, and roads almost surrounded the area. The reporter later said that they asked the dog handler why the dog refused to work, and he said he didn't know. In many missing 411 cases, canines seem uninterested, or there's no scent trail, or there's something about that trail or that scent that they don't want anything to do with. And this is one of those cases, as odd as it is, that a bloodhound doesn't want to do its job. And remember, the trio were walking the perimeter of a swamp. Very key point here, folks. Swamps have a long history in my work with unusual occurrences. What can I say? On November 19th, 1912, in the Escanaba Morning Press, there's this. An uncle who came from St. Louis, Michigan, to search for Ray says it's a mystery how anyone could be permanently lost in that locality, and it is feared that there may be something more in the affair than simply getting lost. Okay, let's backtrack. Let's pretend that something really criminal happened. Say Ray shot a deer and some people came by and said, no, I shot that deer, it's mine, and they get into a struggle and they kill Ray. Let's just say something like that. That would not account for that dog, that bloodhound not searching. Crimes have no impact on a dog. Both articles strongly imply something nefarious happened. But this isn't the only case in that Newberry area. That's the thing. If this was just a one-off, I'd say, well, you know, maybe Ray just got lost and tried to find his way out and got tired and died. No, not. That dog don't hunt. Now, Naugle is a name of Germanic heritage, and it's derived from the name Naugle, which means nail maker. You know, you make nails to build things. Nail maker. So there you go. There's another profile point. Decades after this incident, there were several articles that talked about this case. People kept coming back to the search area, kept looking, couldn't believe they weren't finding his body. Well, so Ray disappears November 1st, 1912. April 1913, 4 or 5 months after he disappears, his wife was starting the process of gathering people together to go back into the area and search for his remains. She was really disturbed that he wasn't found. So part of that included going to her sister's house in Flint, Michigan, and gathering some friends and relatives of the sisters who were woodsmen and establish a plan to go in later in the summer. Well, near her sister's house, there were some people in the neighborhood, some women getting together, and sister said, yeah, come on with me, and you'll just meet some of my friends. They're nice people. Sister says, Mrs. Naugle says, sure. So they went, and unbeknownst to the neighbors, because Mrs. Naugle's sister never said anything to the neighborhood about her missing brother-in-law, they're sitting there, and one of the women in this group, we call them psychics today, but they called them a medium back then. And near the end of the social session, this medium's looking at Mrs. Naugle. And as everyone's getting up to leave, she walks over to her, holds her arm, and says, hey, I have something I need to tell you, but I don't want to do it in front of everybody, so could we meet later? And then it comes out that she's a medium. Mrs. Naugle goes, yeah, we can. I'm going to be here tomorrow. I can meet with you tomorrow. The next day, Mrs. Naugle goes out, meets with the medium, and she sits down, and right away, this medium starts telling Mrs. Naugle intimate details about her husband that really nobody would know. I mean, really intimate details. And I think it was a move to get her confidence. And she said, your husband's missing. I think I can help you find him. What would you think? I mean, it's been 4 or 5 months. You know he's deceased, and you want to find him. Grasping for straws. Do you go with this person? Do you listen to him? They're not asking for anything. They're offering their services. Well, the medium explained a horrific scenario, but one that was believable to me in Michigan, because Michigan's one of those states that has one of the highest rates of hunter deaths by friendly gunfire anywhere in the USA. So she explains that Ray was hunting alone on the one side of the swamp, and some other hunter accidentally shot him in the neck, and he went down. Didn't move. A couple hours later, 2 other hunters come by, find him, pick him up, and take him back to their camp and give him first aid. Now, up to this point, I'm thinking, I think it could happen. But then she said something that didn't make any sense to me. She said that the men took him to their home and nursed him to some semblance of health. And then the medium said, as the time progressed and he was at their home, he became deranged and sick. The medium then told Mrs. Naugle that she agreed to go with her group to Newberry to help him search, and maybe she could help find him. I'm still listening, and I'm thinking, well, where's this going to go? I don't know. So in June of 1913, a couple months later, Mrs. Naugle and 6 friends and the medium all went to Newberry. Mrs. Naugle met with other searchers from past events, understanding their theories, maybe where they should search, maybe where they shouldn't search, if it's been searched heavily, etc. And simultaneously, she posts a reward of $500. $500 in 1913 was a lot of money. She wanted to get everybody in that community out there looking. And I think in the back of her mind, she was probably feeling, if that medium is true, maybe the $500 will prompt somebody to come forward and say, yeah, Ray's in this house over here. The 4-day search included woodsmen who could really make their way through the woods, knew their way around. And I looked all through articles up and down, and I could not find another mention of this medium anywhere. What I couldn't understand is if 2 guys found him in the woods and took him back to camp, I get it. That's what I would have done. But then I would have put him in a car and gone straight to Newberry to get medical help. So why didn't they do that? In my mind, the only reason they wouldn't do that is maybe they're the ones that shot him. I don't know. I don't know. So, if that wasn't the scenario that happened, which who knows, and something else happened, which goes to the point of the bloodhound not wanting anything to do with it. So when Ray got separated from his hunting partners, whatever the predator is, was Ray viewed as the easier target because he's alone? If you think about all of the times, hundreds of times I've talked about point of separation, it wasn't the 2 people that was disappeared, it was Ray alone. Was the perpetrator hiding in the water? Is that where this thing is? This is a very well-established cluster zone. And this case specifically brings out so many details we need to understand. One of the earlier searchers said that the area where Ray vanished is almost completely surrounded by roads, and he should find his way out. That, to me, signifies that this wasn't someone who was lost. Ray had hunted this area for 4 days before. He knew his area. He knew the area. He wasn't going to get lost. He was familiarized. Now, I want to go back and slam these things home to you to understand why these are important. First, German heritage. Second, point of separation from his partners. 3, canine not interested in working at all. 4, they never found any tracks to follow. 5, disappeared adjacent to water. 6, subgroup of missing people, he's a hunter. This case is important. It's one of the earlier cases in this Newberry cluster. But there are a lot of hunters that are missing in this area. Very odd. Now, I keep talking about this, but I'll keep talking about it again. Years later, Air Force jet scrambled from an Air Force base just to the east of Newberry. 2 fighter pilots get scrambled by Canadian Air, asked to track down a UFO that's flying over Superior. They track it down, and on radar, as the UFO is flying along and the jet's flying along, as they start to come together, they both disappeared. Massive search, no wreckage found in the water, no nothing. How could that be? It was a UFO. What happened? Yes. And does Michigan have UFOs? Oh my goodness, does it? Does Michigan have cases all throughout it? Well, yeah, because it's next to Great Lakes. And Great Lakes are notorious for unusual disappearances. I wish I couldn't find a photo of Ray anywhere. I'm sorry. I looked hard. Couldn't find one. And this story is in Missing 411 Hunters, the book I wrote. Thank you for being here. Kindness. I know some of you say that psychics, mediums, they're listening to the devil, they're doing something wrong. Well, if this medium wanted to take money from Mrs. Naugle, I would have been upset. But she went for free. Never went to the press. Never wanted publicity. So I think this lady probably thought she was doing something that she had real powers to do. And weirdly, we've talked about dreams finding bodies before. So a dream finding a body, or a psychic or somebody else saying they know where a body is, I don't know. Don't know. But I'd appreciate it if you'd post the video. Make sure you're subscribed. I've had tons of people tell me they've been unsubscribed. They were subscribed. Then all of a sudden they said, I didn't do it. I was unsubscribed. Well, there's 2 videos in the Marin cluster that have like 1/3 of the views, all the rest do. Makes no sense. And those 2 that have the least are some of the best stories I've ever done. I'm being serious. So, for what that's worth, I'm obviously getting shadow banned, but whatever. So, kindness, the kindness revolution. Let's keep trying to bang that drum of kindness, because it doesn't hurt, doesn't cost us money. Even a mere smile can be construed as being kind. Be safe. Paulides out.